Coley, how are you, mate? Another game played, another loss, unfortunately. How are you, though?
I am alive, all right, tired, but disappointed, frustrated. Once again, we put ourselves in a position to win a game of rugby, and we ultimately didn't. And I think frustration, especially you don't get many of these chances, especially in international rugby, and it shows the what's the word? If you don't, international rugby is basically. I know we lost by 9 points, but ultimately we made a fair few errors in the final 20 minutes of the game, which could have closed the score. But like international rugby is literally, I don't think people appreciate how against New Zealand it's. People say I'm making excuses. I'm not making excuses, but New Zealand it's 6 inches of a post. Against Australia, we catch a kick off, you win the game. Against South Africa, it's you could say 2 charge downs, which, let's be face it, JVP gets charged down, and then how many times have you seen 2 charge downs in 2 kicks, and the ball perfectly stays in field, which is just fluke. It's not the game, but that's rugby. But that was quite like, all right. And then, and also like a potentially missed line out and that kind of stuff makes it closer than 9 points. So frustrating, yeah, because ultimately we're putting ourselves in position to. You have to be in these games in the final 20 minutes. I'd love to say, be ahead by 50 points in the final 20 minutes, but international rugby, the big games aren't like that. If you look across any games, like you look at New Zealand, Ireland, France, all those games that have gone over recently, they're all going down to the final sort of parts of the game, and we're in those parts of the game. You want to be in those, and ultimately we've got to convert them, which I've said for the past 2 weeks, but it's true.
So why are you not converting him?
Well, if I knew that, Ben, I would solve the problem and convert it. It's a combination of, I think probably it's a bit of, it's the players on the field. We have to take ultimate responsibility for it. But then potentially, whether we're now developing like a mental block of final 20, things get a bit tight, maybe that's the answer. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Kind of like sometimes. Maybe in this game against the weekend, it's you sort of final 20, and we just didn't take opportunities that we could have done. I think there's, potentially we break out, we pull the ball out of the back when South Africa down to 14, and we walk under the sticks and score another time. So we dummy throw on a line out, and that's kind of like that's individual errors, but maybe as a group we get tense in those kind of times because maybe we are worried about. In those kind of times, you probably have to free yourself up. I'm just spitballing, here's what they call it. If I knew the answer, I'd have the answer. But, whether we sort of are beginning to tighten up because of, oh, God, we're in this situation again, or is actually going, oh, fuck it, we're in this situation again, let's just fucking go and win the game. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Also played against 3 good teams, 2 of which are the best 2 teams, or 2 of the best 3 teams in the world.
Do you think that you can find a solution, though, for the last? Because, yeah, it's a bit of a mental hurdle, as you mentioned, but like Steve says afterwards, and he's mentioned a few times now about experience compared to other teams. But then I look at the team, and you go Genji, 65 caps, Jamie George, 94, you go Marrow, 87, and Benny Earls up to 36, you've got Slady at 68, Ollie Lawrence got 30, Freddie at the weekend, that's 35 caps, Marcus Smith, he's got 35, I think, as well. Or 38, Underhill 39. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, it's not experience. He says it's experience, but I don't believe that. I think there's enough experience out there to go get the job done in all these games, and also the games in the summer as well.
I would agree with you, but also there's experiences. You got to look at it and go, there's experience, there's caps, and then there's actually how many times have people been in those individual situations, or how many times have people been in those situations where the game is on the line in the final 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of a test match. Now, obviously, in recent times, that's been quite a few. So we've got 5 or 6, 7. But prior to that, people might have 30 caps, but I couldn't off the top of my head tell you what whether they've been blowouts or not. But you know what I mean? And actually, pressure situations at Twickenham and that kind of stuff. How many times have they actually been in that situation? You could say experience, but ultimately, until you've been in those situations, now we've been in 3 in a row. That's a different experience than you could play 3 games, right? And all 3 of them could go down to the final 20 minutes, and that's a great experience. Or you could play 100 games, and none of them come down to the final 3 minutes. So who's going to be more experienced in the final minutes of the game? You know what I mean? It's that kind of like, so we say about experience. And also, I think what Steve said was after the game that I think we're maybe hiding behind our, as you just said, maybe we're hiding behind that kind of experience, and we're using it as an excuse to be like, as players, and maybe as a wider group, that, oh yeah, we're experienced compared to others, but actually, international rugby doesn't care if you've got 1 cap, 100 caps, 500 caps. You're on a level playing field, and you have to win games of rugby and convert chances. You know what I mean? The game ultimately doesn't care. The game is a great leveler. It doesn't care if you're 70 kilos, 140 kilos, 50 years old, 10 years old. You've all got the same. Once you're on the field, you're judged by the same standard, which is wins or losses. But yes, there is a frustration. Again, I said the past few weeks there is a frustration, and I think it is, having read some of the papers / flick through my phone online the past couple of days, there's a frustration around like Steve, I think after the game had to answer like, is he the right man for the job? I mean, yes, he's the right man for the job. Like, it's just those, but we've lost 5, say we lost, is it 5 now on the bounce? 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 we lost to France, but it's like, we've played New Zealand twice away, France away, South Africa at home. Yes, we should have been in Australia. Like, that's probably the one big anomaly. And yeah, you want to convert these. Like, I get it. We've lost 6 games, but like it's the worst England streak. But it's a different streak to when we lose in 2018 when we lost thing on the bounce, and it was, who did we lose to in 2018? 6 times on the thing. It was like Scotland, France, Ireland, I guess, and 3 others. Was it in the summer tours, or you know what I mean? So like
5-game streak's different to 2018, because in 2018, yes, we lost to Scotland, France, and Ireland, and then South Africa twice, and then 1 in Cape Town. But if you actually look at leading up to that, we'd gone on an 18-game streak. We won a Grand Slam, won a Six Nations title. So we were actually onto something, and we're a good team. But you look at current
leading into
year,
our streak, we had a World Cup semi-final, which we lost out by a point. Then we
can't keep living off that, mate.
You retired, Courtney lost. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm not living off that. What I'm saying is, I think we've had, ultimately, 2 really bad games in the past calendar year. Scotland, which we changed, and we then beat Ireland, and then we narrowly lost to France at the final kick of the game, or close enough to it. We then go Japan. Okay, we won't. Japan are a bit different, but you go twice to New Zealand, to Eden Park and Dunedin, and lose in 1-score games. We then lose again at Twickenham to New Zealand, and in the past 3 games. What I will say, right, we lost to New Zealand ultimately by a post, let's say. France just beat New Zealand by a point, and they've just been declared the greatest team in the world, right? Ireland lost New Zealand, and Ireland, they're expected to win and this kind of stuff. Like, it turns out New Zealand are actually quite good, but we lose by 2 points and we're crap, and yet other teams were beaten by a point. If we'd have kicked if that ball goes 6 inches either side, does it change? Do we become France? Do we become the best side of the world? You know what I mean? It's such a fickle place we live in, which is why I say I normally don't read the media, but I have done recently. Well, I can't avoid it right now, but it's such a fickle place, and we say it's frustrating in regards to we've been in winnable games, and yes, you can, but it's also, yes, we should win these games. I get it, but I've said before, if you win the World Cup, no one really cares. South Africa, before, again, different teams, blah 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 blah. But England 03, how many games did they lose on the lead up to 03? Lost so many Grand Slam games, so many big games. South Africa, I think, had a dreadful record against top 5 teams in the world leading up to 2019 World Cup. Like, teams do lose games, and they go through phases of losing. Right now, like, we've lost some very good teams. We've been in the games. No, none of them we had our asses kicked. We've been competitive in all the games. We've been close in the games. We haven't seen them out, but they are still very good teams playing against. So for people to Steve having to ask questions about his job. I mean, just behave, people. That's media mainly, and other stuff like, oh, England's, I'm going to say this. Most of the fans I've met in Richmond or home in the past day or two have been, oh, it's a great game, so close, everyone try really hard, their best, really behind you, backing you. Every week I've met people saying that after our losses, which I think is 90% of the England fans out there are actually positive and thing. You probably get some on social media, which I'm not on, so I don't know, and that or otherwise, and the media seems to rely upon those 5% of things and try and stoke things up. But the mainstream media, I'm going to sound like Donald Trump now, the mainstream media, and it's not true. Do people in the media and a lot of the commentators and stuff know what goes into preparing for a test match and doing all that kind of stuff? And, like with what, say, a George Ford brings to the team and how he's an extra coach on the field and that kind of stuff. And like, people just write stuff for the sake of writing stuff and have no idea how teams function, no idea what goes together teams. Like I said, I've had a passionate defence about the Blitz last week, but like, it's how teams get put together and what combinations you need and experience and how you play the game plan. People just expect that some commentators just expect you've got to be good at everything. Oh, you play South Africa, you've got to play exciting rugby, you've got to score 70 points, but you've also not got to concede any points. Oh, your defence is rubbish because the 9 had a freaking brilliant step and it's the fastest man I've ever seen, and 2 wingers are the second and third fastest men I've ever seen, and they score in South Africa, this exciting team. We score a couple of tries against one of the best teams in the world, and we're rubbish at attack and we're rubbish at defending. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, I'm ranting now, but I just think sometimes with the England team, you can do no right from wrong. And I think that's not, actually, I think the majority of people, 90% of the people, see how hard the team works. They're frustrated we didn't win, yes, but the majority of people watch that game and go, they gave everything. It was a physical battle. You got a team that's won the World Cup twice. I'm proud of that England team.
The frustration comes though is England are they've won 5 out of 12 Test matches. The games you have won, you've beaten Italy by 3 points, Wales by 2, and Ireland by 1, and Japan by 50. But that's the frustration. The frustration.
This is the same Italy that drew with the French.
Well, the same Italy that scraped past Georgia today. The same Italy that.
Yeah, but it's not the same. That's different Italy because this is no.
But where is England
Italy,
at now, mate?
Italy that drew with France.
Like England improving because of the calendar year.
Well, we are where we are.
But are you? Because it's the same things happening. Like 10 minutes to go, we've got experienced players out there, and we're not finding a way of doing it. I think that's and like, yes, Grant Williams is electric, but Tate McDermott did exactly a carbon copy of that break last week to create the try just before half time. And then Grant Williams does literally exactly the same thing this weekend. So you're like, are we not learning?
Well, yeah, but are you trying to say that, I think it was Genju missed the tackle and George Wine got a bit high? Like, the thing with Test match rugby is, right, there will be those mistakes. You will never play the perfect game in defence. This is in defence of these guys. There will be mistakes, right? And even the perfect game, there's always a mistake somewhere. And it's whether the opposition can exploit it. Now, at the weekend, Grant Williams did exploit it because he's a phenomenally sharp rugby player. Like, I don't see that as a common theme in the defence. I just see that as brilliant from the opposition. And yes, and that's the standard of international rugby, unfortunately. It's like, you make a mistake, you get punished. So, yeah, don't make mistakes. But then, that's kind of like, that's not how the game is. Then every game would be 0-0. So, England, are we improving? Yes, there are certain areas. You actually look at the tries we scored the weekend. Like I say, we're 5-0 up. We fight ourselves back into the game. There are certain areas of the game, yes, we are definitely improving. Ultimately, you could say no, because we haven't won the games. And yes, in the final 20. But as I keep saying here, at no point have we been blown out. We are in those games, leading the games in the final 20, some of them, in a position to win. And we're not taking them. Now, that I'd much prefer to be in that position than losing by 30 points or being totally blown out of the water. So, especially against 2 or 3 of the best teams in the world.
When does it change though? So like, you're happy to stay in there.
I don't know when
at
it changes,
what point
Ben.
does it change?
Right.
Is it 8 losses in a bounce? Is it 10? Is it 12? And you keep losing by 1, 2, 3, and you go, we're nearly there, we're nearly there.
Well, what's your solution?
Well, my solution, Coley...
Fire the coaches, getting new staff in, getting new players in.
I'm not saying that at
all. There is no, precisely.
But what I am saying is you've lost 2 very good coaches, Alan Walters and Felix Jones. It got documented last week. There's been no dialogue with Felix Jones, and I find that kind of I'm on the outside, so it's only what I read. Is it gospel? I'm not sure. I'm sure there is some sort of dialogue, but apparently there isn't. That's peculiar given his intel with South Africa and everything like that. And then the biggest thing for me is just like, yes, we can say how close we are, but at some point we have to make that leap as a side to start converting them into wins. And when I list the group of players, like I said, with experience, there is enough Nelson experience out there to see these games out. There's enough experience to go and make the right decisions in the final 10 minutes to go and win this game. Like the weekend just gone, South Africa basically gave us umpteen chance, said, come on boys, come in. And then, for instance, Coley, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, obviously down by 9 points and we decide to go to the corner a couple of times. I'm thinking, well, why don't we take the 3 and then they've got a man in the bin and it gives us probably 9-10 minutes to go and find a try somewhere.
Right. On that question, they're down to 14. We kick 3. We're still down by 6. South Africa then walk to the kick-off, waste a minute. They then kick it far. We exit. They probably get the ball back in halfway. They probably are in control of the territory. They are a good enough side to soak up 3, 4, 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And therefore they're back to 15. And you've got 2 minutes on the clock. You ain't going to win the game. Or if the ball bounces, you might pick up and score. You know what I mean? Like, you're relying on probably a bit of magic or a big error. Whereas actually, if you're 9 points down, the thinking is they're down to 14. We score. Whether it's 5 or 7, it makes it a 2-point, 3-point game, which makes it a 1-score game, makes it a penalty, makes it a drop goal, which I'd say is a lot easier than chasing 6 points, and then the game becomes edgy. And ultimately, I think the kick for the corner, we got done for a dummy throw. Like, we don't get done for a dummy throw, which was a bit of a miscommunication between Chandler and Dickey. You score there, it works. And then no one's going, oh, should have kicked for 3, because then you're 7 and then you are relying upon, say, if the ball goes dead, you pick it up or score it. So that's what I think. I fully back decisions on the field because I don't think, everyone goes, oh, if you kick 3 there, it's a 6 points. And then, oh, well, you just go and score again because they're down to 14. I don't think it's that simple because we didn't score the first time round. So why would we have scored? If we didn't score kicking to the corner when we had 14, then why would we have scored if we kicked a penalty and then scored a try afterwards if we didn't score it first time round? You know what I mean? That logic of thinking doesn't... I'm not going with that logic in some regards. We could have kicked 3 and lost by 6. Or we could have gone for the corner and lost by 2. Or we could have done whatever. Like, it's if, buts, maybes. But, because I don't think kicking 3 then means that you are guaranteed to score next time you get the ball. Especially if we didn't score the first time without kicking 3. But anyway, I ran on about that. So...
I agree with you on that. I agree with you. Go corner. You've got to try and score. You have to try and score. You've got to score a try. You have to. And then it gives you
and that's
8,
what I say, people
minutes.
then go, decision making on the field. You're like, well, actually...
It's the same as South Africa, mate. They had a chance to go to 12. They could have gone plus 12, but they kicked for the corner. Like Pollard, he'd slot that. We know he'd slot that, but they go corner because they're like, we'll hold the ball down there and kill the game off. So I get why we went corner on that. It's just a bit of a debate that a lot of people have brought up. So I think it's important, given the platform you have, to educate people as to why that decision was made. Because I would have done the same.
For me, you have to score twice, and you have to score a try, and ideally convert it. And then it's 9 points down. You have to score a converted try, or 2 tries, or a converted try and a penalty to score. So you've got to score twice. Now, they're mutually exclusive events. If you kick 3, you're not guaranteed to score 7 afterwards. You know what I mean? So this is what I said to you before. I'll rant on about it, but I think the decision on the field was right because people go, it was the wrong one because you didn't convert it. So ultimately, yes, it is the wrong decision, but it just does that not just delay. If you get it right, then you know what I mean. I'm lost my train of thought, but like it just delays the other decision. So I don't.
No, you're right because you have the dummy line out, which ends up in like a free kick or whatever it was. But like myself and Ant spoke about in the pod, like the chance was before that when we actually hit Henry Slade. It goes 9-12, 13 short, 10 out the back, and we don't go out the back. And like we've got to go out the back. We have to take that right edge. They're a man down. It's on. So you miss that opportunity. Then you miss the next one. Teams don't give you that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think in test matches, it's fine margins. It's those one-off opportunities. And maybe in those final 20 minutes, we as players, and this is what I said probably earlier in the pod, have tightened up, worrying about playing the, I don't know, again, I'm spitballing, playing the occasion because it's final 20, this kind of stuff. Whereas actually, those are the occasions where maybe we have to free ourselves up and you go out the back, you walk under the sticks or in the corner, and you know what I mean? And that's where the best teams in the world, like South Africa, take those chances. You know, if you probably go back to the 2023 World Cup semi, there's probably opportunities, a couple of them, to go out the back and score, and we don't take them and you lose the game. But you get one of the two of those a game and you have to take them. And that's where the players, like you can say coaches, I got to coach, I got to upskill you to do the good job. No, we have to do it. So, yeah, frustrating. And going back to your point about losing coaches, it's that bit in the paper about, there's no contact. I don't know. I haven't spoken to the coaches or anyone about this, but from my independent vantage point, I would say that kind of stuff is a two-way street, and I'm pretty sure, knowing Steve, there would be no stone unturned in his ability to get better, and he would ask the questions. And whether Felix is working behind the scenes, or maybe he's not in direct contact with the coaches, but maybe he's working behind the scenes, I don't know. But I'm sure Steve would have no issues asking him the questions. Whether those questions get answered, I don't know. But you know what I mean? I think the media made something out of that probably, and say I think Steve probably has to answer after the game, but I have no doubt the head coach is asking if he get any intel, any advantage he could, he is going to take it and use it. He's a smart man. So, I don't know, make of that you will, but that's my pro Steve Borthwick stance.
Do you think do you think your style drags other teams down? Because New Zealand made unbelievable amount of uncharacteristic mistakes against England, like 21 turnovers they did, and South Africa, to be fair, didn't. I felt like they didn't get out of second gear. They had a try disallowed straight after half time, which would have actually been, I thought was harsh. Like they brought it back for a forward pass, and I thought that was actually pretty harsh. They score in that corner. If it kicked to come, that could have been a healthy lead for them.
We had a try knocked off for a head roll. Well,
then it's both. It's equal, and then, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. But also, right, on a different rant, the head roll's a foul play. I understand it's a foul play, but is that kind of head roll, can that become a technical offence? Because you pound the goal line, you have double advantage, you score, and he gets pulled back for a foul play when this is not really it. It's not like a croc roll where there's actual potential to hurt somebody and, almost intent to do foul play. Like that kind of head roll, it's not really a head roll. That's from neck roll, sorry. I'm like, is that a technical offence? Maybe. So then, you lose all steam. Anyway, that's my rant from that. Not that I'm questioning laws or anything like that, but I just think...
Well, it is a penalty offence.
It's a penalty offence, but But it's a foul play penalty offence, which overrules any other offence that's gone before it. So, but if it's a technical offence, you come back for the England advantage, you're in the corner. And what I'm saying is it's a foul play offence. So, but it wasn't... foul play, damage done. I thought it was a technical offence in regards to you got the clear out wrong. You know what I mean?
But South Africa
it's a foul. I know in the lesser law it's foul play, so overrules everything. But it's for me, I was like, maybe it's a technical offence, maybe something to look at.
South Africa had one first half where they shifted it, and Fassi did a head roll or neck grab, and then England kicked for the corner, and that led to the Underhill try. So it's sort of like it's just in the game. But yeah, I mean they had theirs chalked off. England had theirs.
Yeah, but my issue is the foul. My issue is the foul play. Yeah, you class them as foul play. It's not so much the offences. The offences, the penalties, the penalties. What I'm trying to say is that foul play obviously overrules any other penalty, and my only question would be is whether that I would say foul play has to be intentionally malicious or dangerous play. And yes, neck rolls are dangerous, but if you've got that kind of neck roll, which I don't think was that dangerous, because I don't think he really pulled the neck or attempted it, he had an arm around it. Don't know. Is that more of a technical offence than a foul play offence? Just a thought. But then you make it hard for referees to distinguish between the two. So I get it, but it was just a bit frustrating. Anyway.
Coming back to my question though, Coley, and the games are tight. The games are tight. Like you look at across the calendar year, the games have all been tight. But do you think that's because the way that you guys play, or the way that England play, creates tight games, as in it makes it difficult for teams, and then you almost, I don't want to say drag them down, but like South Africa didn't Australia played very well. For the first 25 minutes against England, they didn't. It was all England. But after that, they played well as Australia have played for a very long time. New Zealand in the summer didn't play particularly well, and nor did England, not to the heights that we know they can. Both teams kind of had that summer tour vibe to it. The game just gone, New Zealand made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, way more than they made against Ireland and way more than they did against France. And also South Africa didn't really get out of gear in many ways. When they did, they looked threatening. But is that the way that England is set up to make every game tight? And because it's so tight, it's coming down to the last 10 rather than maybe if we played slightly different, we wouldn't have to be getting to this mental obstacle of trying to win it in the final 10.
Right, one thing I would say is our England setup, I would say there is no shame in making the opposition play badly. I think that, you know what I mean? Because, again, if you probably want to take on New Zealand in a game of basketball, they will win. Whereas English game...
I agree, but do we then play badly ourselves on the back of trying to make other teams play badly?
No, I don't think so. I think we don't play badly on the back of making the opposition play badly. Maybe we try and make teams play... Bill Belichick, a great coach in American football, his defences try to make the offences, they call it play left-handed, so they try and take away their strengths and all that kind of stuff. If you can make the opposition play badly, yeah, you've probably got a better chance of winning. But yes, do you say it comes down to the final 10 minutes? Well, international rugby, no matter how you play, probably comes down to the final. You look at Ireland, Argentina, they don't play like England. That came down to the final play of the game. Argentina could have scored, you needed to score a try. We're in touching distance, we're in the 22 of the Ireland to win the game. France, New Zealand on Saturday night, that came down to the final couple of minutes of the game in a 1-point ball game. You could say they don't play like England. I think international rugby, the best teams, it comes down to the final 20 to 10 minutes. World Cup final, I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure they had opportunities at the end of the game it was tight, wasn't it? You look at France, All Blacks in the World Cup, that came down to the 40 phases in the final play of the game. Big teams, the best teams in the world, it comes down to final 10 minutes, final plays of games, because teams don't want to give an inch. So, you could say, in an ideal world, if we could blow out teams by 40 points, by 50 points, yeah, brilliant, do it. But that's not how rugby works at the biggest games of rugby. You think about, like, international rugby, I think a lot of them they're edgy affairs because you don't want to lose, because you don't get these opportunities. Teams don't know each other that well, and they're edgy affairs. And I think you look at like every World Cup final, pretty much. I remember 2011 when it was 9-7 or something, France, New Zealand, and the World Cup final England in 2003 was one-score game. Like big games of rugby are one-score games. That's the way they're set up, and you have to be prepared to go into those one-score games and see who blinks first and win them, because these things goes, just win by 20, win by 30. That is ultimately the goal, is to not get down to the final 10, is to be ahead in front, whatever. But you're being unrealistic if you don't think these big games come down to the final 10 minutes, because they do. Like, just look at when Argentina beats Africa, it came down to the final plays of the game, final kick of the game. Like, that's just, it's international rugby. Good teams going against each other, it comes down to the final minutes. And there's no escaping. If you can escape that, you'll win every game. Or lose every game.
With a lot of noise going around the team at the moment, external noise, with the 5 result, what needs to happen against Japan, do you think, for that noise to go away? Or do you not think it does? Because I remember playing tier 2 teams, or teams that are deemed to beat and win well, given what you did in the summer. It's almost like the impossible task. Like, you win well, everyone's like, well, you're expected to do that. You just beat him, or it's closer than it should be, or people expect it to be. Everyone's just a bit like, well, that's disappointing. Like, what is what needs to happen this week, do you think? Or what will be the approach from the group this week, do you think?
1, to win the game. And 2, it is to improve on areas of the game, a bit like taking chances, for instance. If chances present themselves, not go looking for chances in regards to, as I said before, balls out the back, for instance. You might get 1 or 2 in the opposition 22 a game that you got to take them. So that's probably those advancements in those bits. Maybe you want a bit of an advance in D. But as you said before, these games are tough because you win by 100 points and everyone goes, oh, why didn't you do that 2 weeks ago? And this game means nothing. You win a close game and it's like, oh, you're rubbish. You lose and it's like, oh, you're really rubbish. So it's one of those games where no matter what you do, people will find fault in it. Or you could play brilliantly and it's, oh, the opposition weren't very good. You know what I mean? So, well, actually, they could be really good. So, yeah, it's one of those games. So we have to focus on, obviously, we have to understand how Japan play and what they do, but we have to focus on ourselves and we have to try and implement as best we can the lessons for the past 3 weeks in regarding taking chances, taking opportunities and playing big and not sort of as players in that final 20. Again, you maybe don't want it to come down to the final 20. Maybe you do to find something out. But play the game, play the moments in the game, and when you get them right, execute the chances you get, and keep pushing forward in that regard.
Is a part of you would love another crack at, let's say, like an Argentina or a back-to-back South Africa? Because I'm not being disrespectful to Japan here, but I feel like beating Japan doesn't necessarily make the noise go away.
I am in no way disrespecting Japan because you did that to another nation recently and England paid the price for it. As I said, it's your fault we lost to Australia. So, no, I'm not going to disrespect Japan. We are playing Japan and our focus is on that game. Do we want to play anyone else? No, we're playing Japan. I can understand your argument and maybe there is a point where, actually you want to play South Africa and you want to play New Zealand again because you just lost them and you want to have another go at them. But tough luck, we don't get that chance. We're playing Japan. And Japan, again, like Australia, they will probably spend all autumn preparing for this game, no matter what they've done. And Eddie Jones will be bringing a form of play like we saw in Tokyo in the summer where it's 300 mile an hour from go. Or maybe he won't. Maybe do something different. We don't know. But, you know what I mean? I'm not looking past Japan or anyone else. I'm just squarely focused on this weekend, as is the team.
So myself and Ant debated about how, on the outside, it looks like England play conservative. And you can educate us on the line-out because we spoke about this stat in particular from Sage Insights. Luke Karadicki came on, and when he came on, he did 12 line-outs. 11 of them were at the front of the line-out, which was only the average of 5.9 metres away. Given that you stand 5 metres away, setting the line out, why are we winning at the front so much? Like, can you educate us why that isn't? Why are we not going middle? Why are we not going tail? Why are we not trying to win it in a better spot?
Yeah, well, what's rule number 1 of the line out?
Win the ball.
Win the ball, right. So keep that in mind. Right, they have Snyman, Etzebeth and Peter Steph-Toy, all who are about 6'7", long arms and really athletic. They are probably 3 of the best line-out men, well, 2, if not 3 of the best line-out men in the world. So you're thinking, like, where are they not in some regards? And if you look at them, we were going to say 6-men line-outs, and they had 2 pods of 3. One of them was basically stood on the 15, and one of them was stood middle of the line-out, which kind of takes away, you can go, back yourself and jump against them, but the likelihood it's going to be a very low percentage ball, and even if you catch it, everything's got to go perfectly, and even if you catch it, they're probably going to be all over you in the air, and it's disrupted ball to the tail. But if the advantage is if they've got, say, 2 pods of 3 at the middle and back of the line out, the front is open, and often the nearest defender will be the halfback, which is sometimes the prop, and he'll be stood a couple of metres out, which is why rule number 1, win the ball, which we did, and secondly, we drove probably quite a lot in the second half because their defence wasn't there, if you see what I mean. So therefore, you might not, off the front line out, you might not go straight to 9, because obviously it's a long way, but we actually got we were getting success with penalties from our maul game, which ended up with the man in the bin, because he took us out in the air.
Myself and Ant picked up on this, because they'd stand a lot off, they'd sit off to almost cover off, like, and then get him the passing lane between if Randall's trying to hit 10 and flying off it, but then we'd drive him at the front.
And that's the line-out defence. And when you drive, you have to if you drive, you have to be successful. You have to win penalties or suck as many defences as possible, because if you don't, then you just end up with the ball getting turned over or slow ball or stodge ball. So another way of not getting Peter Steph Dutoit, Etzebeth and Schneiman is, if you think about them, if you go to, say, a 5-man line-out, there's 3 of them in the middle, so it's their best 3 against your best 3, and their best 3 is probably better than our best 3 without being horrible. Maz is a great line operator, George minds that, but you look at the athleticism of those 3 and their combinations, they work together so much that they're probably a very well-drilled defence. So maybe actually go to a 4-man line-out, which means that only 2 of them can go up in the air. As in, if you go to a 5-man, you might be able to get a pod of 3 at the back up and a single man at the front, so you get 2 blokes in the air. If you go to 4-man line-out, they have to guess, and they're like, you can't really get 2 blokes in the air on a 4-man line, you can only get 1. So there's a bit more space as well, which is why England, Maz was calling 4-man line-outs, because you take away one of their, you kind of stack the odds in your favour a bit, and again, they were giving us the front line out, so you take it on. Similar to the 6 men, they were stacking tail and back. You probably, against that defence, I'm not in line up with the leaders means, but want to avoid 5 because they're really good. But if you have to do it, you take where's on. And that's the thing. International rugby, rule number 1 is winning the ball. We can all say about being brave and hit the tail or middle, but if you've got to thread the needle between Etzebeth at full lift on 10 metres, say, and then you've got to drop it in before Peter Steph Dutoit, I think he was at the tail, who's on, say, 14 metres, you've got a 4 metre gap, and somebody got to get the ball up and over 1 and perfectly land in the middle, and also your jumper's got to be in the middle of it and compressing. So you kind of go, yeah, the good thing would be like, oh yeah, we'll back ourselves. But in all reality, it's probably a very low percentage ball, which gets, even if you catch it, we saw how good they are at, say, knocking arms or slapping the ball out of the air, so it's disrupted that way. So actually you go, let's have a solid ball at the front and win that. Because at least if you've got the ball at the front, you can attack off it. If you haven't got the ball at all, you can't attack. That's my line out lesson of the week.
Coley, how's the general mood in the camp? Because obviously from the outside, you just assumed everyone's like hands in the pocket, staring at the floor, dragging their feet. But that is obviously not the case, because you can't afford to be like that.
Yeah, no, it's not. The mood is, again, after the game, frustration, disappointment, annoyance ourselves. And then, you have that meeting when you first come in. This week's a little bit different because it's a Sunday game, and you try and right the wrongs, and then from that point on, this team is good at attacking the weak and not having any sulk really once you're on the field. Or I don't think the coaches allow it. Well, the coaches don't allow it. They run one of the great things I think about Steve and the coaches is win or lose. Sort of when they're on the field, their attitude is the same. Sometimes you have coaches, we've had it before, where you win a game and it's the best thing ever, and the review that week is just brilliant, and it's, look how good we are. And then you lose a game the next week and the coach is sulking, he won't talk to anyone, he's like, oh my God, we're the worst team in the world. He's trying to get a reaction, but he's just sulking. Whereas Steve and the coaches, England, as we know from Leicester, aren't like that. They turn up day in, day out with the same attitude. Doesn't mean they're not hurting or disappointed, but to the players, when they get on the field, they're professional, it's business-like, and we're there to get better at rugby. So that's what, and the players follow that, and I think players, we know it, so that's what we do. Let's say, the camp is frustrated, but it's frustration amongst ourselves rather than anyone else.
Did you catch up with the Iceman, Andre Pollard, and our old teammate, Jasper?
I did, yes. And Marco Van Staden. Yes, they all came to change room afterwards. So,
of course, and Marco. What a gent, what a legend.
Yeah, had a good, a good chat. It's like, you're right? Yeah, good, yeah. So, thanks for doing that again, lads. Appreciate that. And then they said they're in Wales next week. So I said, yeah, have fun with that. No, we just had a brief chat, as you do afterwards. You see how the week is, how's things going, and then join touring. And just, have a drink with them and, well done, guys.
Coley, in other news, mate, I've got some podcast news, and for the listeners, of course. So tickets for the live shows are on sale now. We're in Bath, Bristol, Northampton, London and Leicester in April and May. And actually, the Leicester one, you actually have to hurry up because we're nearly sold out on that. If you're in Northampton, you can probably wait until payday.
It probably says something about us, doesn't it?
yeah, I can't see why they wouldn't want to come and watch us.
Watch 2 Leicester Tigers players talk rugby. Why would they not want to?
Well, how's Underhill, by the way? Great to see him back out there. I thought he was outstanding, actually, the weekend. Very, very impressive. Good to see him score as well.
Mate, what a try. What a try. What a line. And what a finish well. Like, he had 3 blokes off him as well, and be able to dot it down as well. Like,
the intelligence to reach out and place it.
Yeah.
I love him, mate. I love that guy.
So do I.
Do you know what I do love even more is the fact that he's going to come and play George Ezra on stage at the live Bath show. That's what I love even more about him.
Well, he was like, he's playing smart. He's like, well, my mates keep like texting me saying you've been saying stuff on the podcast about me.
As if he's not listening.
Sam, you've listened. I know you've listened. It's fine. I've just been saying that, that I'm now trying to get you to come along to the Bath show and you're playing hard to get. And I said that maybe you do some live music. I said that, you didn't want to talk rugby. You just wanted to show off your guitar skills. And yeah, but, I'm just teasing the audience, Sam. If you want to sing, that's fine. In fact, sign the contract now. But yeah, no, he's, after the weekend, we'll probably have to get him on. Perfect.
Right, we'll keep working on Underhill, mate. We'll have him at the Bath show, I'm sure. Talking of legends as well, Richard Hill, sending my best. I hope he's doing well.
I will do. He is. Yeah, I walked out the changing room when they said 90 seconds to go, and Hilly was sort of stood, the corridor at Twickenham, like where the changing room is Twickenham, there's that bit of, like, there's a corridor and then you turn right and you go into the changing rooms. Well, Hilly was sort of stood on that bend.
Did you make eye contact?
Well, he knew I sort of walked back because I heard someone at the door go, 90 seconds, England. And I literally looked at Hilly as I was walking out the change room and he sort of like didn't say anything because he knew I was there.
Oh, what a man.
He's a hero.
He's a hero. He's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
I know we fly into him, but all in good jest because he's an absolute champion. So send him my best.
His wife's a big listener and it was her birthday this weekend, so happy birthday to her. And also Finn Baxter's dad, saw him after the game and he says, I'm still listening to the podcast, so big shout out to him.
Big shout out to Mr. Baxter. Happy birthday to Mrs. Hill, and send my best to Richard, the absolute legend. We've actually got a sponsorship deal with sportsbreaks.com, Coley. They're selling official Lions packages to Australia next year. If you book with them and you use the code FTLOR, you'll get £150 off. The link is in this episode description.
And what a series it will be now, Ben. Thanks to one man.
I tell you what, mate.
One man alone.
You're welcome. I love it when a plan comes together. Everyone is now really looking forward.
Mate, they're streaking.
To the tour.
They're beating England now. They're beating Wales. They're streaking.
They could literally conquer the north and head back home, and all eyes turn towards the summer. How good.
Mm-hmm.
Talking of Aussies, I'm actually going on the Coco show this week.
You have to defend England, defend our pride.
Yeah, I'm going to go on and represent the boys, mate, 100%. I'm really outnumbered, given they've got Gitz, Adam Ashley Cooper and Drew, and I've got no you or Ant Watson, the extension of the pod. But I'll do my utmost, mate, to represent us well on that show. But I'm looking forward to seeing those guys. So I've got a busy week, mate. Thank you for joining. Good luck against Japan. I'll be there, cheering you on, rooting for you lads, and I'm sure you get the business done this weekend.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you to Sage for the insights. Sage have been brilliant all autumn, so thank you guys. Thank you, People's Captain, for supplying the beer. And if you're thinking of going on a Lions tour, go to sportsbreaks.com/Lions and use the code FTLOR when you get your official package. You'll get £150 off.